Welcome to the Rivercity Unlimited Podcast by powerlifting coaches with infinite solutions for your problems. A good coach is ubiquitous now in powerlifting and strength training, but that hasn't always been the case. In 2017, Rivercity founder trained in a well-known powerlifting gym in North Brisbane, Australia. Dealing with outdated coaching services with a need for more community or support, he sought out a new coach with a better system and support. He soon realized that there were fewer coaches in powerlifting to meet the demands of beginner to high-level competitive powerlifters. After spending months studying, designing, trialing and testing systems, Rivercity Barbell and its first coaching system were born. Created from a single powerlifter experience with an intention to improve the athlete experience, the unique system meant athletes could reach maximum strength injury-free. 6 years on, and Rivercity Barbell system is still relied on by elite and amateur athletes. Please welcome your hosts, Matt Burton and Diana Stubner.
Say you. All right, here we are on the first episode of the podcast of Rivercity Unlimited. Welcome to your co-host, Matthew Burton, as you know me, founder, owner of Rivercity Barbell, and then we have my other coach, my lovely partner.
I'm Dee, if you don't know me. What?
No.
This is all new to me, so, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, this is all new. She's never podcasted before. Obviously, I've had the barbell coach and physio now with Laura for 3 years, but the whole concept of this was that I really wanted to narrow down and go down a path of my passion of love of powerlifting, but also with mental health and recently being diagnosed with someone that has ADHD and ASD. Like, I really wanted to speak to my audience through my own podcast, and I believe that, like, I have a lot of people that follow along because of my story, so I wanted to kind of create something that was more down the path of what we are at Rivercity Barbell. So today's episode is pretty much just going to be both me and Dee talking about our stories and who we are and why we are in the position we are today and how we got here, whether it be from our childhood to now. But I could start with my story, if that's good for you, and you could just jump in and have some say in there. So where do I start? So as a kid, most people have heard that I'm pretty loopy. Crazy. We all a bit crazy some way.
Best people are.
Yeah, in my eyes. Everyone that's on the spectrum's normal and everybody else is crazy. But so my story started back when I was really young, clearly, but played a lot of sports like rugby league. But my true story starts from a young age of being bullied and picked on, being an outcast to society, you could say, in the sense of, like, I never really had many friends. I was a loner. I grew up very isolated in Western Sydney. Family was not very loving in that case either, which Dee could relate to with her story when she goes into her stuff, which then created me to be a very angry person as I grew older. Something about me that I'm very proud of to this day that no one will ever be able to take away from me, but is that I've been 22 years without alcohol or illicit drugs because I grew up in a family and a household where my dad was a very aggressive person who abused alcohol a lot, and my sister was a heroin addict. So there were two massive things that Dee could probably relate to as well in her childhood. I grew up around a lot of drug dealers. My cousins were all in and out of jail because of drugs. So, like, as a person at a young age, like, that influenced me into who I am now, and I have not drank or had alcohol since I was the age of like 18, I think I gave up, 18 and a half. So like for, I think come up did last year at New Year's Eve was like 20 years. So
Yeah. Solid as.
yeah.
Crazy.
So it's that was a pretty big achievement of me, but where was I? So yeah, I used to play footy as a kid and I was always good at sport, but I fucking sucked at school. Fucking sucked at school. Like no sport was like hard for me to do. I skateboarded, I played footy, I played rep footy, I played for Australian schoolboys. That's where these juicy legs came from. But yeah, sport was my thing and art. So people would see like my business is based around like super creative, like arty farty shit. Like I love my page on Instagram and social media to be bright and vibrant and very creative, but that's just my fucking overactive fucking ADHD brain that loves to be creative. But as a school kid, like I failed at maths, I failed at English. Like you gave me a tape measure when I was fucking 10, I wouldn't even know what fucking half a mil was. Like I was just a retard. But it was more just I got easily distracted, and the older I've got, and in the last 12 months, I've actually figured a lot about myself from a kid. And it's funny because I went through a lot of therapy in the last 2 to 3 years that really showed me a lot about myself from a kid. And as a kid, like I feel like we spend like so much of our life trying to find a place or somewhere to be where we fit in or where we feel comfortable or somewhere where we can just be ourselves. And then, like, a lot of people don't even find it, to be honest with you. And do you agree on that?
Yeah, I think it takes, it's from a young age, I think around like, say even 13, I think a lot of influences really come into the development of someone, and they struggle a lot to find where they're going to fit in, whether they're going to be like a follower or a leader and whatnot. And if you have sort of a mixed influence of environmental influences around you, it's really hard to sort of find your direction, and a lot of people just can't come back from that if you've got not a lot of direction around you, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I feel like if you get involved with the wrong people too, it's really hard to find yourself a place to fit in. Like I remember growing up as a kid, like I was a skateboarder, I had fucking shitloads of piercings, first person in my group to have tattoos, and everybody else wore fucking turtlenecks when we went out clubbing, and here's Matt wearing a band shirt and a pair of fucking like ratty old jeans, or like just like this little hardcore punk kid that, and all my friends used to say to me, they're like, what the fuck's all that metal in your face? And I'm like, but it was just my expression of who I was.
Yeah.
And I found that like as I grew as a kid into an adult, everything about me was always expressed either on the outside of me or through something that I did, whether it was like sport or, so for example, like as I went into my 20s, like I continued to skateboard, but I found a love for Muay Thai, and I did Muay Thai for 8 years. I had 7 fights, but that was like my angry stage in my life. Like I went through these stages where like I was a child, I felt lost, I had no friends. Coming out of high school, and for fuck's sake, when I left school, I was like, thank fuck that's over, get me a job. And my dad was always like, you need to get a fucking trade because that's what you do. So what did Matt do? Went and got a trade. Worst thing I ever did. But I never knew, like, as a teenager, I never really knew what I wanted to do. I knew I always wanted to own my own business and work for myself, but I never knew what I wanted to do because I feel like I was put into this protocol of life where they call you work every day, you buy a house and a white picket fence, and you have kids, and that's life. And you work the rest of your life to pay off your fucking house, have a nice car, go on that one holiday once a year, and then you work like the rest of the fucking whatever 25 weeks of the year, you know? And that's the life that my dad lived. He owned a business, and I just feel like that I rebelled against that. And you could say I rebelled against that when I was 22. I finished my trade, and the recession came through Sydney and I lost my job. And I was like, I don't fucking work anymore. So I started a band and I played in a band. And another thing, that was just another way of me expressing art through music.
Yep.
I could not play a fucking musical instrument at all, but I was a bass player. But we played hardcore and I toured Australia, I toured New Zealand, I toured fucking Tasmania. Like, we went around and we were a pretty fucking good band. We toured with like Parkway. We did shows with like some American bands. And that was just another way of expressing like my art. Like, and as a kid, I was a graffiti artist for 10 years. From the age of like 12 to like 22, I was painting trains and doing bad shit in Sydney. Until I got caught, but we won't go there. That's another story for another day. But yeah, we used to get up to some stupid shit when I was younger. But yeah, so like it was always some form of expression. And I guess like I spent a lot of my childhood expressing my emotions and who I was through other things instead of confronting them. And like I said, like I went into this stage of like anger at 22 when I kind of like lost my job and I was in a band for 3 years. I started doing Muay Thai when I was 22, and then when I was in my band members actually fucked me over big time. So my lead singer was like meant to be one of my best mates, and we built the band together and we got really famous, and then it started to get to his head and he was like hitting on like young girls, like in like taking advantage of like, and he was married with a partner at that time, and I confronted him about it, and then we found out he was stealing money out of, because he didn't work. He was stealing money out of our band because we used to make fuckloads of money, like literally like not fuckloads, but enough to live on. From playing shows, and merch was really like, that was the era where everyone went to a concert or a band thing, and you buy a jumper, you buy 3 shirts, you know, like, so me being creative, I did all the designs and stuff for our band and like pumped out like heaps of merch, and we'd make like thousands. Like we'd go on tour and make like 10 grand on merch.
That's
so
cool,
like,
lads.
yeah, it was sick because it was like a way for us to make money to live on.
Yeah, sounds like it was pretty established. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was like, it was one of those things in life that I like don't regret doing. Even though my dad reminded me for the whole 4 years that I was on tour that I'm a deadbeat and that like we're fucking like.
Just such that old school mentality that he tried to keep and instill into you, you know, so anything you did that wasn't alongside his was wrong.
Yeah, it's just like I think that era of people grew up and their perception of life was like what I said, the white picket fence, you have a house and you build a fucking thing, like you build like a family and shit, and that was never anything I wanted. I wanted to travel because I was like, when I think right back into it deep as I can, like I fucking travelled heaps. Like there was times when I was from 18 to like 20 when I lost jobs as sign writers and I went and worked in a chicken farm, local chicken farm.
Yep.
And I used to work night shift. And I used to make fucking good money, man. Like I work 3 hours a night. We have to fill up trucks and we still get paid for 8 hours. I get like $1,000 a week. So I used to, because I was casual, I used to just get in my car and go to Newcastle all the time because I had heaps of mates up there. And I'd just fuck off to Newcastle for like 4 days and just travel up there. Would fucking run a mark and have fun and whatever. And the same thing, I used to go down like, you know, all different places. And when I think about it, before I was in a band, like I used to travel a lot. And it was like, I lived on this like thing. It was like me with powerlifting now. Like I was always, and I look back, like I said, when I spoke with my psych, and I see these moments in life where I was always chasing that dopamine, like that next way to get a bit of a rush and enjoy myself. And because I never did drugs or drank, it was always like an extreme thing that I was looking to do and have fun and just enjoy life, because like when I sat at home or whatever, I just felt depressed because like either I'd think about things that had happened in the past, or you know, what I think now is like ASD or ADHD, which I have more of a manage of. Back then, I didn't really have a manage of my emotions. And like I said, like I kind of went back and forwards a bit there. But like I was in the band, and obviously then they kicked me out of the band because I confronted them about stuff. So all my mates turned on me once again. And then I just fucking lost my mind, man. Like, I just packed my shit. Like, I literally sold everything in my house. And I was like, fuck this. I'm done with this state. I'm fucking out of it. And I bought a ticket. I rang my mate up in Queensland. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, nothing, man. Just got back on a holiday. I'm like, I'm moving in your fucking couch next week. And he goes, his name was Adam. And he's like, what? And I said, oh, you still got a spare bedroom downstairs? And he's like, yeah, they're moving out in a month. And I'm like, I'm flying up next week. I'll sleep on the couch, bro. And he's like, all right. So I flew up and I booked my ticket. And this is a funny story to tell you. I fucked up and I booked my ticket for the Gold Coast instead of the Sunshine Coast.
Oh, no.
But I was so lucky because I got to the airport. And at the airport was my tattooist's wife. And she worked in the airport and she fucking did some
That's
dodgy
so
shit.
lucky.
Yeah, like they say things in life happen for a reason and they line up, but that was motherfucking one of the things that lined up well. We go to the airport and they're like, oh, so you go on the Gold Coast? I'm like, no, Sunshine Coast. And they're like, no, you're going Sunny Coast. And that's like fucking an hour and a half away. I'm like, what? So she switched it over and anyway, I flew up to the Sunny Coast. I moved up there. And I started doing Muay Thai up here as well. But like I said, I went through like this angry stage in life. Like, I kind of suppressed so much of my childhood with my dad being like, I don't really like to talk about it too much, but my dad being so abusive in the sense of like physical abuse. There was times when we fought, times he hit me with shit. And watched my sister go through a lot of shit because she was a heroin addict, but the reason she was a drug addict was because she was gay and was really scared to tell my dad that she was gay, so she suppressed it for so many years, and then, like, she was isolated for so many years as well. She wasn't allowed to do anything, even when she was over the age of 18. She kind of, like, just flipped out one day and just fucking decided to smash drugs like the lollies and then became a drug addict and ended up fucking, like, in rehab by the time I was 22. I moved back home when she moved back in for like 6 months or something, and then me and her just didn't get along because we're very similar personalities. Except she's crazy. If you're listening to Christy, you're fucking crazy. But, you know, I'm not normal. Definitely not normal. But normal's boring. But yeah, like she went through a lot, and I feel sorry for her. Like, I went through a lot as a kid, but nowhere fucking near as much as she did. I feel like my dad fucking tortured her, and the fact that she still talks to him is still probably torture. Whereas I don't talk to my family at all. But I talk to my sister, one of my sisters, which Christy, my older one, the one I'm talking about. But she went through a lot, and I really feel for her because it's fucked her up a lot for the years to come. She still suffers really bad from anxiety, and yeah. But when I look back, I went through a real angry stage in my life from about age of 24 when I moved up here through to like 30. It's where I suppressed a lot of emotions, and when I look back on it, and I've spoke to my psych about it previously, and we've had a lot of conversations. Like, I created this character that everyone would be scared of because I got bullied as a kid. I got bullied like really, really badly, like kicked downstairs, bashed up all the time. But I'm still like, the easiest way to say is like I'm still the same smart ass kid I was when I was younger. Like, nothing's changed.
So you learned nothing.
Learned fucked all. But I don't mean in the context of like I'm a smart ass to people. But back then, like I might have got my ass kicked all the time, but fuck it, I still stood up for myself. Like, if I was never someone that got bashed and bullied and didn't stand there and say like fuck you or like stand up for myself. Like when I mean I got bullied, I got like picked on a lot in groups of people, not ever singled out by one person. Like, a group of people would like fucking shit stir me that were meant to be my friends, and it was like a bullying. It was 100% bullying, and there was one kid that I didn't get along with because he got jealous that my best friend Mark at the time was like more friendly with me, and I would hang out with him all the time, so he'd always start shit with me. His name was Mitch. So if you listen to this, Mitch, you're a fuckwit. So I used to kick your ass at school all the time, but yeah, you want to go for a round of it? Let's go.
Oh,
but
yeah, you always went down swinging, yeah? Like,
yeah, no,
you know.
I always went down swinging, but like even now, like as an adult, like I sometimes have to just bite my tongue, but the little Matt from when I was younger comes out every now and then. Yeah, and I have to shut him up because he just wants to go. But
I think we've all got that little inner child somewhere that's trying to rise its little head sometimes, and you just gotta put that adult cap on it here and there.
I think for me, when people try to stand over me and intimidate me,
trigger.
It's a trigger.
Absolutely.
A huge trigger.
Yeah.
And now I'm bigger, stronger, faster. I would say faster.
Yeah.
But stronger, I don't care. Like, there's always going to be someone stronger and bigger and faster than you that's going to kick your ass. But it's not that I'm going to fight anyone. I just don't let people intimidate me or try and be like intimidating. Because like I grew up as a kid, like, and dealing with all that type of shit. No, and even now, like I see people like in the society we lived in, it was all in front of us, right? It was all our friends and whatever who were bullying it. Now it's all over the fucking internet. When I see people on
now you can't get away from it, kind of thing. You're like,
but even in the fitness industry, coaches bully other coaches, and I fucking hate it. Like I really hate it. There's a few people in our industry that use it as a way to market, and I think that's a joke. It's like you're attacking people at their own expense, like you're in high school, so that you can get a benefit from it. And I really hate it. It's fucking toxic. And they think the thing is too, if they didn't have a keyboard, they wouldn't be doing it. Some people need a punch in the face. Like I wish there was a day and it was called not the purge, but the punch, where you could just go around and punch anybody you like and get away with it.
Bloody hell. That'd be a vicious day.
It'd be a fucking amazing day. Some people would learn some fucking lessons.
Yeah, but it's a pretty shitty thing that some people feel like they have to bring others down to make themselves feel better.
But I think it comes down to their own insecurities too. Yeah. But like, so a lot of the people at school I grew up with were just trying to be like the bigger person of the group, and just look cool. But whereas today's society, a lot of people have trauma from their childhood, and they reflect it onto other people. Which when it goes, like I was an angry kid from the age of 24 through to like 30. Easiest way to put it is like I just created this character we realised that was like scary. So I got heavily tattooed. Not that I don't love my tattoos. Like I said, everything that I've done through life has always been an expression of myself. My ink, art, graffiti, all that type of stuff. So I really loved art. You can see on my social media, it all looks like I love making video editing, all that type of stuff. It's just, that's who I am. That's who I've always been. But I was like, I don't think I would have probably tattooed my head if I didn't want people to leave me the fuck alone. So I noticed as I got older, the more heavily I got tattooed, the less people that started shit. And it probably sounds like stupid, but like I was like, oh, if I get my head tattooed, will everyone leave me the fuck alone? Yeah, probably. And like everyone just left me the fuck alone, and I stopped getting picked on. And then, because I was never that big, like I was skinny until like 30. Yeah. Even 30 till 32, I was still around 75 kilos, 80 kilos, and now I'm 102.
Jesus, so, 5 years.
So like the last 5 years probably been the last where I've really like gained weight. But like when I was fighting, I was only like 72 kilos. So another thing, I started fighting so I could learn how to defend myself. Yep. So we talked about it in my psych meetings, and I created this character, like I don't know, you could say like Mortal Kombat. Just fucking, so I learned how to fight, fucking cover myself in tattoos, and everyone left me the fuck alone because they knew I knew how to fight, and then I didn't get bullied anymore. And like I used to go to, I had a real love and passion for music. So like I obviously played in a band, and then we moved up to Queensland, and I just started going to hardcore shows every weekend. Literally lived my life for like the age of 24 all the way through to 30, just going to band shows every weekend with the same group of friends. But I would always end up shifting friends. Like, someone would shit on me, and then I'd be like, fuck, you're dead to me. Like, I'm done. Like, I'd probably punch on with them or something like that. There was a few times I've punched on with people. But same thing, like, I started to get bullied by a couple of guys in the music scene. And Pete will tell you about that, like our therapist. I won't mention any fucking names on here, but yeah, we punched on a few times, and but it was never like same thing. I never got bullied by an individual person. It was always groups of people. Like, they would wait until I was by myself, and there'd be like 4 of them. But I grew up in fucking Campbelltown, man. Fucking used to it. Like, not to say I'm a tough person, because I'm not that type of person at all. But I grew up in Campbelltown, man. Like, I grew up with people, like, you get fucking rolled as a kid all the time. And so, like, when I moved to Queensland, it was like, they're like, it's bad in this area if you go to Woodridge. I'm like, bruh, I fucking grew up in Campbelltown. Woodridge is like where you go as a holiday destination.
Good beg to differ, but, you know, I
Man,
get what you mean.
Like, I reckon, like, going to Woodridge from Campbelltown would be like going from, I don't know, where can I say? It'd be like going from somewhere over in America, like, to Compton. Like, Campbelltown was the slums. Like, it was literally... So, like, you would not walk out on the street past, like, 10, 11 o'clock at night. You go missing. Or that, or you would get stabbed. Prime example, I got stabbed at 17. But, yeah, it was like, I moved up here, and then, like, people were just... I don't know, there was, like, a group of people in our music scene that just were, like, trying to be, like, big tough guys and start shit all the time. And then it reminded me of high school again. And it seems like everywhere I go that it's kind of similar in everything. There's always that one egotistic group of people that want to be, like, the hero or the tough guys. And I don't know, like, for some reason, I always end up fucking having to deal with this shit. I don't know if it's because I get so sick of seeing what they do that, like, I confront people about it. But anyway, I listen to music, and Pete is our massage therapist / needler. He is a long friend of mine from music. I've known him for going on 10 years now. He's one of my straight edge mates. Ex till death. But yeah, if no one knows, I'm straight edge. I've been 20 years. But yeah, so, like, we used to go to shows and do that type of shit. And then when I hit 30, I went through, like, a bit of, like, a change in my life. At the partner I was with at that time in my life, like, I'd given up fighting by this time, kind of gone back into skateboarding for, like, the last 2 or 3 years. And like, I owned a skateboarding brand. But there's another expression of, like, this is true, like, ADHD as well. Like, you can see how many things I went through over the years to try and find my one thing, and like, trying to find this fucking thing, and then I gave up this hobby, I gave up that hobby, and, you know, like, it's funny, because, yeah, I owned a skateboarding brand called Infamous Skateboards, had it for 4 years. We did really well, actually. I did that with a mate, and then same thing, mate fucked me over, so I bailed on that and stopped skateboarding because I started dating one of my friends at the time, and she introduced me to powerlifting. So she was getting coached into a competition, and then I started just powerlifting and gave up skateboarding because of, like, I don't know why. Just because girlfriends influence you to do dumb shit.
Dumb shit?
Yeah. But started powerlifting, skinny white boy, 75 kilos. And I don't know, I remember the first time I walked into a powerlifting gym, and I felt like I was at home. And I never felt that before. Even though it was a fucking poxy, like, I wouldn't say poxy, it was one of the best gyms in Brizzy, but I've got a sour taste in my mouth from that. We won't mention anything. But I walked into a gym and I remember it, and I was like, it just reminded me of like a dungeon. All black walls, black equipment, tattooed people. Everyone kind of looked mentally unstable in some way. And I was like, did I just walk into a mental asylum?
This is sick.
This is sick. Am I at home? Like, I just remember it, and it's like a clear vision to me. Like, and it was like, fuck yeah, they got all comp benches, they got monos, they got comp plates. This shit's fucking mad. And I trained there for 2 years, I think. My girlfriend and me split up, and then I moved back to Brizzy from the Gold Coast because we were training out of when I lived on the Goldie. I was training out of Hold Your Own, Nathan Wallace's gym. It's no longer there anymore. It's shut down. But he's a famous Mr. or bodybuilder / powerlifter. Mr. Universe, I think they call it. He won. But him and his dad were two really famous bodybuilders. But Nathan was really nice. I trained out of there for 2 years. And that gym was cool as fuck. It's probably one of the coolest gyms I've ever been in. Back in the day, it didn't really have comp-specific powerlifting stuff. It had some nice benches, deadlift platforms, but really nice racks, constant racks of squat racks. Had a big Hulk painting on the wall. It was all green and black inside. Just super one of the cleanest gyms I'd been in to start off with. And there was a really great community in there, of people. And that was probably one of the first places I met people on the Gold Coast. And this was way before I'd even ever been to PTC. And I got a funny story about PTC as well, because I knew Thomas way before I even knew powerlifting 10 years ago. Thomas doesn't remember me because I was a white skinny boy. But he used to come over my friend or my girlfriend at the time's house for parties before she was my girlfriend. And yeah, all old friends of mine used to powerlift and knew of him. But that stage of my life, then I moved back to up here and I started training out of Valhalla full time, which is where I was. And I just got in amongst a community of people who were very similar to me. But that went sour very fast. I got kicked out of that gym. So So that was something I'll put out. I got kicked out of there. Just talking about stupid shit, but I think there was a underlining issue of my mental health at that point. Kind of might have fucked that up a little bit. I was going through a bit of a lot of shit that when me and my partner split up at that time. I went through a bit of a mental health stuff and I had a mental breakdown, to be honest with you. I lost my job. I lost my license. And what else happened? There was one more thing that happened. Lost my license, lost my job, and I got kicked out of my house at the same time. So homeless, no job, no license, pretty much was on the street. And not long after that, I tried to kill myself. So that kind of was a point in my life where I'd hit the lowest point of my life. And when I look back on it, it makes me I kind of swallow a bit. And I'm like, fuck, imagine if I actually didn't make it here today. I would not have been able to do any of the stuff I've done. And be grateful for any of the stuff that I have. Like yourself, my business, everything. But yeah, that was a point in my life where I realised I needed help. I'd been through so much as a child. I've been through so much as a 20-year-old. And now I was into this new era of my life at 30. I was like, do I want to fucking die at 30? Is this where I'm going to go? Is this... So
is this it?
This it? Yeah, is this it? Because, I literally woke up every day of my life from the day I was 20 to the day I was 30. And I was like, this is just life. You get up and go to work, hate your fucking job, and you leave to go do something that might give you a bit of a good feeling on the weekend. And that's life. Because that's how I was raised. You go to work, you earn money, and you fucking pay your bills, and you have a family, and that's it. It's like, nah, fuck that. I wake up at 9 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. I fucking live a good life now, but I created the lifestyle I wanted, based around what I want to do. But, like, it's fucking, 10 o'clock at night right now, and we're sitting on a podcast. Like, you know, this is the life, even though Dee's got to go to work tomorrow. She'll probably kill me for this. But, you know, like, at the end of the day, like, at 30, I realised I needed help, so I went and sought help, and I got diagnosed with BPD, which is borderline personality disorder, not bipolar. I definitely don't have bipolar. I have multiple personalities, but they're not bipolar. It's more just can do, can't do, will do, won't do. Just AD. I got ADHD.
Want to, but can't.
Yeah, want to, but can't.
I don't know. I feel like the description of that, the name of that diagnosis is like skewed in a way. Like, I don't know. If you think of multiple personality disorder and you actually read up this description of what it means, I don't feel like it suits the name.
Bipolar.
No, multiple personality disorder.
Yeah.
Like, when you think of that, I think of the people that have that disability where you literally have freaking Jenny and Craig and Bob in you. And one day you're one, and one day you're like, I've seen it in person, those types of people. I'm like, that suits that name. But when you read about, like, BPD, and it has basically all the same traits as, like, ADHD, and it's sort of like emotional imbalances and anger and all that sort of stuff, I'm like, well, I don't know why that's called multiple personality disorder.
No, it's not. Like I was saying BPD, it can... So people, when you say BPD, they get mistaken for bipolar, because that's how they call bipolar BPD as well. But BPD is... because bipolar is obviously a multiple
yeah,
personality
I understand
disorder.
those ones.
But borderline personality disorder isn't a personality disorder.
Yeah.
It's just a personality disorder. So BPD, give you a little bit of expression of what BPD is. It is an emotional disorder where you don't know how to regulate your emotions. So you don't know how to you mask a lot of things, or you might outburst in anger or anxiety. Like, I didn't even know what fucking anxiety was until I was 32. When I got told and I went through therapy, I was like, I'm like, I always feel like I'm fucking like on edge. I'm like, I used to go to band shows all the time, like, why is that person looking at me? What is that person doing? What's this guy doing? What the fuck? And I'd spend half the time at a show trying to make sure that no one was looking at me, no one was going to do anything to me, and then I would, like, enjoy the show. Like, catch someone just, like, might be looking across the room, like, what the fuck are they looking at? Like, super severe paranoia, and it comes from my childhood because of, like, how much I was bullied. Where I grew up, I was always, like, looking over my shoulder. Like, if we were hanging out in Campbelltown on the weekend, riding skateboards or whatever, always, like, looking, like, on the look, because, fuck, man, like, you don't know how quick someone jump out of the fucking bushes with a knife at you. Like, man, the amount of times I'd fucking just been skating in a school and someone come up to me and be like, give me your fucking shoes with a knife or some shit. Like, it's just crazy shit, like, as a kid. So, like, you can imagine that trauma into an adult as you get older, and you just get, like, severely paranoid around everything.
Yeah, especially when you then put into a small space with lots of people. When you already had to watch your back in a big space with the chance of one person, then you're, like, in a small space with heaps of people, then it's extra, like, heaps more volumized around that anxiety, of course.
Yeah, so then as I got older and older again, like, it kind of just, like, got worse and worse and worse, because I'd never treated anything through my 20s. And when we were younger, no one went to fucking therapy. You don't go to therapy. You're crazy. If you go to therapy, you go in a fucking mental institution. That's all I remember as a kid. Like, my mate had a bit of a fucking weed addiction, and his mum was a therapist, so she sent him to a fucking rehab. And that was, like, what you did when you got therapy. You went to a fucking mental institution. So, like, that in my mind. And then I Googled some shit on the internet, and I found a therapist. I got some help, and they obviously diagnosed with BPD. And he's like, I think it's be smart for you if you do this course. It's called dialect behavior therapy. And I'm like, fuck, how much is it? It's like 11 grand for 12 months. I'm like, fuck, man, I can't afford that, but I need to do it. So like anything, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to get help and you want to become better, you just fucking make it work. Yep. And so I lived on fuck all. I was making $700 a week, I think, back then, and I was paying $150 a week towards like therapy. It was like I'd go 3 times a week. We'd have a group session, and then a single session, and then a phone call with like my therapist once a week. And now I look back on that, that was like a pivotal point in my life where I learned how to understand myself, understand my emotions. Really, instead of reacting to the way I feel, when something happens, I kind of, how do I say? Sound like a snake then. But instead of like reacting to, like, say I'm angry, I'm like, fuck, I'm going to punch that cunt in the head. I'd be like, okay, all right, you're angry. You're allowed to be angry. Now, instead of doing something about it, why don't you just walk the other way?
You process it.
You process it. That's the easiest way to say it. And brain wouldn't like, but I process it and be able to move forward. So that I did 12 months in that, changed who I was, actually changed my life a lot. Learned how to deal with my emotions a lot, and I moved forward in life. I kept doing therapy once a month. I've literally been doing therapy for 7 years now, once a month. And it's not even because I'm crazy. It's just because, like, it's like anything.
Self-development.
Yeah, like, your brain is like fucking, like, your brain's a muscle. You do reps and sets at the gym. Why not do reps and sets in your fucking head? So, like, when I still see a therapist once a month now, my therapist's fucking amazing. Shout out to Tash. You're a legend. She's actually a bodybuilder, so it's, like, pretty cool when we chat. She knows what I'm talking about when I talk about powerlifting. She loves doing that shit. But, yeah, like, I kept doing that, and then as I got on, I moved on in life, like, kind of shifted towards like finding what my thing was to make me happy. And I got sick of working for someone. I'm like, I really fucking hate working for people, getting told. And I think it was my biggest thing in life where I went through, and I was like, where people tell you what to do, and like, I don't like being told what to do. You know that. I don't like being told what to do, but in saying that, I don't like disappointing people when I put all my hard work in and effort in, but it's still not good enough for people. So, like, I got sick of working for, let's just say, like, a shit hourly rate of $30 an hour, and I'd been a sign writer for 15 years. And you can see my skill level as a graphic designer on my page and everything I do, and my creativity there. Like, I had all these skills. For example, this back wall, I made that too. Like, I had all these skills, but, like, I wasn't appreciated for what my skills level was. I could build you any sign in Australia. Like, I could build a pylon as big as your house. I could build fascias. I'd managed, like, sites with many people. Like, I could do vinyl stickers, wrap cars, everything. But I wasn't appreciated for my skill level. And I was like, am I going to spend the rest of my life working for someone where my skills are not appreciated, or am I going to go create a skill set that I can build where people appreciate it because I give them a service in some way? And so I always wanted to be a PT. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I love sport, but I always wanted to be a PT. And when I wanted to be a PT, I just never thought I could get in the industry, because all I ever heard when I started powerlifting was, yeah, don't do that. It's really hard to get into that industry. It's really hard to be a strength coach. Oh, you won't make enough money.
I've heard that the whole time too.
And it's like, so in the back of my mind, every time I thought about going to do my certs, it's like, nah, you'll never make money doing that. Fucking doing pretty well now, but but then, like, don't get me wrong, it's been a hard road. Like, it's not been easy. It's been 6 years, and I'll guarantee you that the first 3 of them were fucking hard. like hard knocker. I went through probably the hardest part with COVID, and it was scary, but it built resilience now. Owning a business isn't easy at all, and I'll fucking 100% say that. But, you know, like, I had a friend, and like, I'm going to get my friend onto the podcast. His name's John, and he changed my life. So I'm going to get him on and do a solo episode with him eventually down the track, because this guy, like, changed my life, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to everybody else right now if it wasn't for him. Like, I started going to a church at on the Gold Coast, like, after me and my partner split, and it wasn't a normal church. Like, so I'm a Christian. I've been baptized, and I do believe in God. But this church wasn't normal. So the church was a rehab underneath. So a lot of ex-bikies, ex-junkies. Like, it was fucking pretty. Like, it was like walking into a powerlifting gym full of misfits. But heavily tattooed dudes going to church, and it was cool. Like, I felt at home. I didn't feel like, you walk into a normal church, right, and what do you see, like, in their white dresses and their fucking little suits, and like, everyone's like dressed up, and you know what I mean. They didn't want, like, you walked in there, you see, in this church, I'm not joking, there was fucking gold chains with big crosses. Like, it was like the gangster church. Like,
not what you would expect.
What you expect, right? My pastor, Mike, wore a fucking like 20K gold chain while he was preaching. Like, he was gangster ass. And the thing is, a lot of them were old ex-bikies, right? Been through rehab, been really rehabilitated, and created something to make change in their life. And Mike was a rebel, originally, and he used to extort people, and then he found God, changed his life, created a church, created a rehab, which is now the highest functioning rehab in Australia, which gets 80% of people that go into it come out and stay clean for the rest of their life. And I met some pretty crazy people at this church. Like, one of the persons I met at this church was a boy soldier from Africa, and he used to shoot people, literally.
Oh.
And he was saved and brought over to Australia. And just like people like in this church, their stories resonated with me, and I guess I made some of the best friends that I would have for the rest of my life. And then when I walked in this church, obviously my closest mate from years ago through bands, Alex and Sarah, his wife, were there. And they're the reason why I went there, because like I was going through a lot of shit, and he was like, just come, down to our church, hang out. I introduced it to everyone. They had like a youth thing where like young 20-year-old people would hang out on a Wednesday night, and they would just like get to know each other and do whatever. And he's like, come down. I'm like, I'm fucking over 30, bro. You think all young people? They're like, no, just come out and hang out. And anyway, one of the pastors there was John, and John and Tiff, his wife, they're like the mum and dad I never had. And I fucking don't even know what to say. Like, John, I don't know if he just saw that I needed help. Like, I was a very lonely, cold person, and he would never tell me this or say anything, but I know I was. And he just, I don't know, like, I'd never been loved. Like, no one had ever told me they loved me. No one ever hugged me. My friends didn't show me anything. My mum and dad never hugged me. Like, if someone come up to me and hugged me when I was like, before I met John, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing touching me? Get off me. Like, literally, like, it was just an expression of like my childhood and who I was. You didn't do that. Like, yuck. Fucking, what are you doing? My girlfriend hugs me, but not you. Go away. Well, mate, you don't tell your mates you love them. Where I grew up, it was like, so then, like, as an expression of that, we kind of just like, he just saw me, and like the next time he saw me at church, because I went to church every week, he came up to me at the start of church, and he's like, hey Matt, how are you? I said, yeah, good. And he's like, I got your present. And I'm like, what is it? And he's like, I got this silver ring. It's got a ship, like had an anchor on it.
Mm.
He goes, I just wanted to give this to you as an expression of our friendship. And I was like, what the fuck does this cunt want from me? Like, he's trying to get money out of me because I ain't got no money. I'm
Like,
a poor
straight up,
motherfucker.
what do you want?
Yeah, paranoid.
Yeah.
Paranoid Matt's out. He's fucking out. And I'm like, oh, why? And he's like, oh, just want to be your mate and just want to help you. If you ever need anything, let me know. And from that day forward, like, him and his partner, Tiff, all they ever did was just show me love. Like, every time he'd see me, he's like, oh, I'm so happy to see you, man. Like John's younger than me. He's, like, way younger than me. He'd be 30 now, but I'm 37.
Oh, true.
But they were, like, he grew up in, like, same type family. Like, his mum and dad were, like, Christians. They grew up in a very loving family. But from that day forward, like, I went through a lot in my life in, like, the next 12 months from that point. And he would always say to me, it's just God preparing you for the future. And I know, like, people might cringe if they hear this, but whatever, I don't give a fuck. But he's like, God's just preparing you for the future in your life for what you're destined to do. And I never understood it. I never, ever understood what he was talking about. And I was like, whatever, man. Fucking, you know, like, you're a fucking tripper. He goes, I float through life, man. If I made it to 30, I could probably make it to 40. But I'm destined to die under a barbell, bro, whatever. But every week we would go out for, like, burgers after church or whatnot. Then we'd all go home and do it all again on Sunday. And then every fucking Sunday, I remember, I'd sit down and John would be like, what do you want to do with your life? And I'm like, I don't know. Fuck, I have no idea. So why don't you become PT? I'm like, it's too hard to get into, bro. Nah, too hard. And he'd be like, just go do your certs. What's the harm in doing something? Nah, man, it's too hard to get into. Every year for like 12 months, this motherfucker was in my ear about it. And then one day I just woke up and I was like, fuck, I wish John would stop asking me to do my Cert 4. So I just fucking went and enrolled myself. And then that's where I don't know, like, it was like ADHD mode kicked in, hyper fixated on it, and just abused the absolute shit out of everything that had to do with powerlifting. So it's funny because where that rolls into like a new stage in my life where I met someone else, 2 other major influences or 3 other major influences on my life, would be when I started getting coached by Nexus. So when I met Will, Mickey, and Zach, and they how much they have influenced my life from a point where, like, whether it be like being mentored by Will for so many years, being friends with Will, like Will's personality rubbing off on me, his knowledge, his expertise as like a coach, Zach as well, Mickey and her strong personality putting me in my place at times when I'm being Matt, being stubborn and being a dickhead. But they're like, Mickey and Will were like another, I could say, like, parents I never had. You know, Will has been like one of the biggest impacts on my life as a coach as well as a friend. There's probably been stages in my life when I've thought about doing some dumb shit and I've just said it to him and he's like, but why? You don't need to. And I'd be like, fuck, man, why do you do this to me? Like, and he just makes me see things from a whole different perspective. And same as Mickey, like, Mickey, I don't think anybody in this world scares me as much as Mickey. She's one person that, like, I wouldn't fuck with. But she has had a big influence on me too, because there's been times in my life where I've been a fucking idiot and she's called me out on it, and she just has no filter. Like, she will literally, and it's good because I needed people like that in my life my whole life. Like, I needed people that don't be like, oh, don't do that, Matt. It'd be like, she'd just be like, fucking don't do it. Like, yeah. And I never had people like that, and I was like, whoa.
It's tough love.
Tough love, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, like, and then Zach as well. Zach is, when I was coming up as a coach, like, man, I used to ring him up. So for the first 12 months of me deciding to be a coach, like I said, I'll do my Cert 4, and the first thing Will said to me is, you need anything, I'll help you. And I remember to this day, like, in a message, like, oh, I'm going to go study to become a coach. He's like, you need to learn anything, you need to know anything, got any questions, just get back to me and I'll help you out.
So good.
And then Zach, I used to ring Zach up and I'd be like, oh, bro, what do you think of this program I wrote? And he'd be like, oh, why'd you put this here? Why'd you do that? Because this is before Zach had a girlfriend. He was an 18-year-old boy and lived on the Central Coast, and he just started working for Nexus. But don't get me wrong, like, Zach is fucking smart and always has been smart. Really, really knowledgeable person. And he would just guide me. He guided me in a really good direction as well. Just made me understand metrics in coaching from a whole different perspective. And same as Will. Like, I feel like Will's perspective on coaching, and I say this to him all the time, it's like, it's the method that everyone needs to know. Like, the way Will coaches is the way of the future. Mm-hmm. And I don't just say that as because, like, I'm coached by him. I've been coached by plenty of people. I've actually had 4 different powerlifting coaches. Will's my one current coach and has been my coach for 6 years, but I've never got as much results as I did with Will, and what I've learnt from Will also has got me a lot of results with my clients. I just think the way that people look at coaching back in the day when I used to be coaching is very 2-dimensional, whereas Will looks at it from a very 3-dimensional way. Like, there's more things that influence training than just a program and, hey, mate, go lift these weights, you know. And we all know this now, as a lot of the industry has evolved a lot in the last 6 years of being a coach. But I do still think there are people who are way behind in it. Like, there's so many different methods and ways to coach, but I think in this podcast, like, we will go into all of this eventually about how we coach and why we coach this way. And that's the road we'll end up going down. But I do believe that, you know, I reached a point where I just really learnt so much about training that it actually influenced me as a person as well, to become a better person as well, to understand people's emotions better, to connect with people better. Because, like, I could say that before, I've always been an empathetic person, but before I became a coach, I didn't, like, if someone whinged, I'd just be like, stop being a fucking whinger, life's not so bad. Because I've been to the bottom, and some people whinge about the littlest shit in the world, but their bottom might be so much different to your bottom.
Yeah.
Everyone's bottom's different. Like, and as a coach, it's made me understand that as well. And recently, at the start of the year, like, I've been a coach now for 6 years. Shout out to, like, I like give props to, like, Jamie Smith, Will Cross, Zach, Mickey, and everyone, like Compound Performance, all that people that I've learnt from to get me to this point. You know, I've had business coaches as well, have taught me how to run a business properly, all that type of stuff. You know, Kyle Trainer got me out of a job and into, like, doing my passion. So people that had really helped me, thanks for that. But if we roll into the start of this year, I went through a little bit of another low in my life as well. I was diagnosed with ADHD. So last 12 months, I realised that there was something else going on in my life that I didn't really know about. That I kind of knew was there, but I didn't know, like, and there was more to it. And this happened about mid last year when I was doing a webinar with Anthony Krasner from, he's not Apex anymore, Yeti. Everyone know him as Australian Yeti. But go check out Anthony, he's an awesome dude. But Anthony, he was doing we're connecting every week, and we're doing, like, these written up, these webinars, getting ready to do one on mental health because I'd been on his podcast, he'd been on mine. We thought, it'd be a good idea to put out like a webinar. And then it was like looking in a fucking mirror on Zoom. And Anthony has ADHD. And I'm like, why am I doing the same shit you're doing, bro? Like, I'm just like, I just think to myself, like, we get on these calls every Friday. He'd be like looking away from the screen and looking up and like wouldn't stop moving. I'd be like tapping my leg. And little things in my mind would pop up from my previous relationship with my other partner where she'd be like, will you stop fucking tapping your leg, like, and going off at me? And I'd be like, what? I can't help it. And like, I couldn't stop being fidgety. And then as work got really busy last year, because my business doubled in like clientele, I started to find myself really struggling to focus for long periods a day. And then as the weeks would go on, I would get burnout and I would be like fucked for like 3 days. I'd like work my ass off and then I'd wake up and I'd be fucking exhausted the next day. My mic just drop out? No. So I would be exhausted for fucking days and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this isn't right. So I started to kind of seek a bit of help for it. So I started seeing my psych now, Tash, and I was telling her that she was actually a friend of mine before she became my psych. So it made it really easy to kind of like talk with her and chat about what I'd been going through. And at that time I was going through what you could call a breakup again with my previous partner. And I just was like, a big shift in my life was changing, and I found that I wasn't who I thought I was, you could say. And I'd been masking a lot of stuff because of the fact that, once again, the person who was around me was kind of like creating me to be anxious all the time. And wasn't accepting of who I was, in the sense of like some of the stuff I did was like I was made to feel like I was not normal, if they weren't saying in that sense. So I masked a lot of my behaviours and who I was. Example, I wouldn't tap my legs, so I would get like super like fidgety, or I would pick my phone up and scroll all the time, but I wouldn't even be looking at anything on social media. I'd just be like trying to move because my brain was like tick, 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 like wanting to do something. So I went and spoke with Tash and we did a few sessions together, and she's like, I'm going to test you and see if you like have ADHD. And so she tested me and it came up like a 95%. And I was like, fuck. You serious? So like, we were like, I'd been diagnosed with BPD, and I was like, that's what I thought it was all my life. But it's funny because like, if I now have a friend who has been through exactly the same thing as me. So Josh was, he was on my podcast recently, was same thing, got diagnosed with BPD at a younger age, and it's now ADHD. And
Josh from Nexus.
Yeah, Josh from Nexus. So I went and tried to get, I'm just going to say too, our fucking health system's fucked. So I spent 12 months trying to, or not even 12, 6 months trying to get assessed. Finally found somewhere that wasn't $3,000 to get assessed. Got assessed, and it came up that I actually had ADHD and ASD. So I had answers, but I guess like it was a big hit, in the sense of like, I'm like, oh fuck, here we are again. We've been diagnosed with something again. Everybody else is going to think you're a fucking weirdo. And like the Matt from a child came back again. But now like I've kind of, it's seeped in. It's been 6 months and I've kind of embraced it. I like being weird. Spectrum people are fucking cool. Like, and it's weird because like, I remember like when we met, at the start of the year, we made friends with someone who has autism and ADHD, and her name's Bree, and she owns like a store in North Lakes up here that is like super quirky and mad. And we started to meet people who were on the spectrum a lot, and I was like, this is crazy because these people are fucking cool. Like, and I felt comfortable around these people, and I really enjoyed their company. Whereas, like, I don't know, like I'm not saying like I don't enjoy normal people, but I felt like these people were really cool to be around all the time, and I really enjoyed their company. And I don't know, and now I feel like for the first time in my life, I have peace.
Yes.
Like, and that's my story. Like, I'm a powerlifting coach. I do what I love every day. I wake up. Some people say I'm lazy. I wake up at 8:30 in the morning. I eat my breakfast. I start work about 9:30. I work till 5. Sometimes I'll be like, I finished check-ins at 3. I'm going to just knock off and hang out with my dogs. Because that's the life I created, and that's the life I want to live. I work fucking hard. Like, I do work hard. I have to get my own clients. I have to build all my own content. I have to structure all my own work. I build all my own fucking systems. I've paid for business coaches. I've worked with numerous, and I've spent... In my business, I went through COVID, lost all my clients, had to get all my clients back again. I worked in a gym, left the gym, built a gym in my garage. I've done all these things over the years. I've learnt, made mistakes, done all this shit, and I'm still learning. I'm still making mistakes, but, you know, I wouldn't fucking trade any of the last fucking 6 years of being a coach for anything. Like, I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I get to get motherfuckers strong. I get to hang out with my friends at competitions and watch them lift and have good days. And I don't think, like, in the last 6 months since I managed to get rid of something that was creating anxiety in my life and really find something in my life that created my life to be great, that I would be as happy as I am today. So, and that's my story. So
It's pretty cool to look back at all the things that end up, creating who a person is today. Hey.
yeah,
You
and
know, for something that people could see as all these negatives, and then you can think about where you come to at this point. And if you didn't go through all that, you wouldn't be who you are today, being able to deliver the kind of things and services that you do to your clients and appeal to them in the ways you do if you didn't go through what you did, right?
For
so
sure.
It's pretty cool to look at the positive sense of it.
For sure. Like, I honestly, like, will sit here and say that I've been to hell and back, but wouldn't change it for anything, because now when my friends and the people around me and my clients are close to hell, I can pull them back and bring them back to heaven.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have, like, it's funny because, like, a lot of my clients are on the spectrum, have ADHD, ASD, different mental health stuff. I've got a boy who has cerebral palsy that struggles with mental health. But I know how hard it is. So when they feel low, I know how low they feel. And I know that I can turn around and say, look, you know, I took a girl last year who bombed at nationals last year with a different coach, who has ADHD, who struggles with depression, struggles to do anything during the day, but because I can connect with her on that level of, like, I know how you feel because I have ADHD. I took her from someone that bombed at nationals to this year, won the juniors, came second in the opens,
Yeah.
and pulled a 200 fucking kilo
Bombed at
deadlift.
nationals and crippled with anxiety from the experience.
Yeah.
To then a year later.
Dominated.
Absolutely.
Because she absolutely, like, I connect with people on that level. And I'm not being at all, like, cocky, but I just feel like all that experience in life was exactly what John said. It's like God was just preparing me for something in the future to do greatness. And my greatness is expressed once again through an art, which is like powerlifting. To me, powerlifting is my art and my expression of who I am.
saved you and gave you purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And it did. Like, the things that in life that built me to be as strong as I am today, also powerlifting built me to be even stronger by teaching me resilience. Like, when you fail something, you just keep trying, or you work harder to get to that point. You don't give up. And I think because it's such a simple thing, powerlifting, that I found it very easy to just repeat it and make structure within it because of like my ASD. If it was complicated and hard, I would have gave up because it's like too overwhelming and too like, but because it's so simple, it's not simple, but it's squat, bench and deadlift. There's only 3 lifts, right? But all you got to really do is just find the better things to make those lifts better. And I find that each individual person who is different, whether it be their body or their mental health or the reason they can't really find structure in their life, I'm like, oh, this is another challenge. I'm going to make you a better athlete, even if you don't want to be one. Because you saying like you can't get to the gym because you're struggling, well, let's stop you from struggling so you can get to the gym. So, like, it's just I know what it's like to not want to go to the gym, but I also know what it's like when I don't go to the gym. So, some of the best sessions I've ever had are on the days that I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Mind me.
Would you like a drink of water?
I don't know why I'm joking.
Because he's been talking lots. Getting all choked up.
Cut that one out. But yeah, I think that'll be a good way to finish my story off. And I think in the next episode we'll talk about your story, because that's already an hour. But
Cool.
But yeah,
Looking forward to it.
thanks
It's always cool to hear your story, anyone's story, but
thanks for listening, guys. Thank you for listening in to the Rivercity Unlimited Podcast. To hear future episodes, please subscribe to our podcast. And we would really appreciate it if you shared the podcast on your social media story and tagged Rivercity Barbell. If you could also head over and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and Spotify, that would be really appreciated. For all coaching inquiries, please go to the link in our show notes or head over to our social media at rivercitybarbell.aus on Instagram or Rivercity Barbell on Facebook. Thanks for tuning into the episodes, and I hope you enjoy future episodes.